and welcome back to the Citizen channel. You're all stay safe and well as we welcome, after a little bit of gap in the league. We have played him in a cup match recently, but a little gap about 20 years or so. We welcome Forest back to the Etihad. They did players at the Etihad last time. Last league game was at Main Road back in 2002. 7:30 p.m. kickoff. Have we gone back in time, guys? 7:30 p.m. What's going on? Wednesday, the 31st of August, match day 5. It's showing on BT Sport 3. So, we're going to have a look at, a quick look at Forest and a quick look at Pep's decisions he's going to have to make after that Palace game, and with Europe on the horizon and a trip to Villa Park, of course, at weekends. So, it's going to get very interesting. Yeah, I was trying to think of Forest's nickname before I did this, and I thought I can't remember anything specific. Obviously Forest is a simple nickname, isn't it? But you've got the Garibaldi. I don't remember that one, and the Tricky Trees. I like the Tricky Trees. I've not heard of that one, but I was just thinking back to the 70s and 80s when I used to sort of know all the club's nicknames, and yeah, Forest is a weird one. Never really had a standout nickname for me. But hey, anyway, I digress. So we're going to look at City versus Forest today. And yeah, before we start, just a quick look at the match odds, please. When the fun stops, stop and be gamble aware. City are 1-14 on. I don't think we'll be touching that one. Forest fans, a nice price for you, 28-1. If you fancy your chances, I mean, if you field all your new purchases, you'll have about 25 players on the pitch or even more. So you've got a chance then, but I don't think you're allowed to do that. 12-1 the draw. That's the prices, all those prices at the 28th of August 2022. As stated before, the last time we met in the league was back on the 30th of March 2002, so over 20 years ago as I'm recording this. I was there at that one. We, of course, were nationwide. That's the stoned version. Nationwide League Division 1 leaders at the time, and we beat 16th placed Forest. Yeah, they weren't doing very well. 3-0 thanks to a Darren Huckabee hat-trick. Yeah, be one of my hat-trick heroes, no doubt, one day. And the team that day, City team, Nash, Dunn, Howie, Pearce, Son, G-High Son, Wright Phillips, Horlock, Bernardo, Jensen, Gota, and Huckabee, and the subs, Royce, 100 Rolls was playing, Vikings, Mears, Matomo, and Macken. Now, our overall league record against Forest, I've not done this for a couple of previews. I used to do it all the time. We've played 45 at our place against them, 120, drawn 18, and lost 7. So not bad. We've not lost many, and we scored 75 goals and 50 against. So quite close, really, overall, with all those draws. And let's have a quick look at Notts Forest. I was going to list the transfers, ins and outs, but I just give up. I just give up, guys. There's so many with free transfers as well. Never mind the people they paid money for. They paid anything up to about 20 million for players. But I counted almost 30 players have actually come in. A few have left, of course. Don't get me wrong. They've not obviously. They're not going to have a triple-decker bus to come to the match or anything like that. But yeah, going on for 30 players have joined. So Mr. Steve Hooper's been very, very busy, hasn't he? Picking that or buying his players. But a bit of a scattergun approach, perhaps. But is it so far so good? Well, we're not far into the season, are we? Only 4 points from 4 games, which is pretty much sort of relegation form. They are second favourites to go down as Hooper tries to mould his small army of players into some sort of cohesive Premier League outfit. They sit 14th. They just won the one game, drawn 1 and lost 2, and they got a -3 goal difference. Yeah, it all started off at St James's match day 1. They got a bit of battering there, but they made the City ground faithful very happy with a 1-0 win against West Ham. With a one-iwi, one of their bigger buys, a one-iwi on the score sheet. But they did ride the luck at times, and West Ham were unlucky not to at least get a point out of that one. A very hard-fought one draw at Goodison Park followed that, and Everton aren't doing so well. But in their last Premier game against Spurs, Spurs beat them. But again, Forest were positive. They were perhaps a little bit unlucky. If it's just more clinical finishing from Spurs was the difference on the day. And it could have easily been a draw or even 3 points for Forest. Discipline looks like it could be a problem. 6 yellow cards against Spurs, taking their Premier League total to 16 yellow cards in 4 games. No one's sent off yet, but City might have the ability to rile a couple you'd think, wouldn't you? So you never know. So unless they do tone it down, yeah, someone could easily walk in this, especially with the referee we've got on duty, which we'll talk about just before we finish. Last week they also had the EFL Cup, the Carabao Cup, and a visit to Grimsby, and they actually won 3-0, but slightly flattered by the scoreline. Grimsby playing very, very well, and that certainly had Forest worried at times. With of course, Forest give a chance to some of the guys who perhaps Hooper's not considering playing every week. But as I said, they are second favourites to go down. I'm not particularly seeing anything yet to cast doubt on that possibility of them going down, but I say they've got so many players to bed in. They bought a couple of new ones recently. One I think was on City's radar for a couple of seasons, a left back. But with so many new faces, I mean, Hooper's going to have to sort of gel them, isn't he, and get them to blend. And over time, perhaps he'll be able to do this. But I think this game against City is perhaps too soon for him to actually find the winning formula yet. So yeah, what have they got after us, though? What have they got after the places? Let's assume we're not going to give them any points. Let's assume City are going to get the points. I mean, if you look at the next home games are Bournemouth, Fulham and Villa. They've got to probably aim for 7 to 9 points from those. I mean, they've got to be beating Bournemouth and possibly Villa, haven't they? So, if they get 6, it's not a total disaster. And then they're away at Leeds, Leicester and Wolves, but difficult. Leeds is difficult at Ellen Road, of course. It's Leicester, you never know. And Wolves, you never know. So they'd be probably aiming for 2 or 3 points. So after 10 games, if you allow for the fact they haven't got any from us, 14 points wouldn't be such a disaster. But anything less than that, and certainly anything less than 10, and I think they're going to be struggling. But as I said, Hooper's got time to sort of blend his players together. So what about us, though? What about City? How about City against Forest? At the end of the day, it's going to come down to what we play like, doesn't it? So I checked out the press conference, the pre-embargo. I couldn't see any mention of injuries. So I do believe Aki and Grealish are now fit, but I don't expect either of them to play against Forest on Wednesday night. So if you look at the Palace performance, the shoe-ins, if you like, the best players on the pitch for me against against Palace were Stones, Bernardo and Haaland. I think they were our best players. Guys who did okay enough to be okay and considered as a starting lineup: Cancelo, Rodri, KDB, Mahrez, Foden. That's after watching the game back. I probably wouldn't have said that before watching the game back. So that's sort of 8 players out of a starting 11. But with Europe, as we mentioned before, with Europe soon upon us, Pep might make sort of tactical changes on the view of what he's thinking about Europe as well. Obviously, we've got another Premier League game with Aston Villa away, which is going to be another toughie this early in the season, although Villa are struggling again. So it'll be interesting to see what sort of tactical changes Pep makes. And I did get 11 out of 11 against Palace. I can't see that. I can't see me getting anywhere near. If I get 8 of this lot, I'm going to tell you in a minute. I'll be happy with that. It'd be nice to see Alvarez get a chance along with Haaland. Obviously, he was in the press conference. He was pushed on the fact of whether Haaland will be rested tomorrow, because he says, but I think it's a bit early to be resting Haaland. As long as he's fit, 4 games in, play him. That's my attitude at the moment. Obviously, when you get 6, 7, 8 games down the line, yeah, fair enough. You might make tactical switches, but as long as players are fit, why not? But I mean, I'm going to go against that in a minute, because I think Pep will make changes. But as long as Pep's not tempted to rest Haaland, why not have Alvarez and Haaland on the pitch at the same time? Alvarez is going to get some time when Haaland isn't playing, and he's going to perhaps get a little bit less time when Haaland is playing. So why not for this one? It's Nottingham Forest in theory. As I said, we looked at them before. Not the easy games. Nothing's easy in the Premiership, is it? But it's a game we should be considering making a couple of sort of tactical switches and giving players more minutes. I think Gundogan should start. Absolutely no doubt about that. I did put this team out there on Twitter, and a couple of guys said about the midfield's a bit heavy. But don't forget, some of our midfielders can play different positions. They can mess about and do different things. So I'm not too worried about that. Why not give Gomez a start? That's the one that I would love to see. I'm just saying, whether Pep's got to do that, I don't know. But why not give Gomez a start? So really, the only player who I thought is certainly walking a tightrope as far as selection was concerned is Ederson, but there's no way Ederson's going to be dropped, even though he made certainly one really bad guffaw against Palace, and obviously another one that he, fortunately, by the rules of the game, it wasn't. He was just he was fouled. It was simple as that. I say it still looks as though it should have been a goal for me against us, but Yeah, so but he's not going to drop Ederson. It's too early to drop Ederson. If he has a nightmare against Forest, and I think depending on what Ortega's doing in training, he might well step in, but he's certainly not going to drop him for this game. So I thought, why not rest Walker? Why not rest Walker and bring across Cancelo to the right-hand side? I say he's not been impressing me left or right, in fairness, but bring you over and start Gomez on the left against Forest. Feasible for me, and then you can play Haaland and Alvarez up front, as we mentioned, and Bernardo. Gundo's going to slot in somewhere else. If Gundo sits in with KDB and Rodgers, because Rodgers is going to play. Still no sign of Phillips, of course. We've got Aki, apparently Aki and Grealish, haven't we? I can't see either of those fitting into it just yet. They might start on the bench if they're fit enough. So here's my 11 based on what I've just said, guys. Ederson, Cancelo, Diaz, Stones, Gomez, Rodri, Gundo, KDB, Bernardo, Haaland and Alvarez. And as I say, if I get 8 of those right, I'll be happy, because I think Pep's going to start having one eye on other games now. And as I say, once we get to games 6, 7 and 8, I think that will happen more and more. I'm less likely to get a full house on my team selection, that's for sure. So sad, yeah, missing out is Mahrez. I thought he had a very good game on the second watch through. I think he played very well, but I thought Bernardo perhaps did a slightly better job in the second half, a bit quicker. He does things Mahrez does, but a little bit quicker, doesn't he? Let's be honest about it, Bernardo, and takes players on in a more direct way than Mahrez does. He's a little bit unlucky. Foden will be unlucky. Foden's playing all right. Perhaps he just needs that rest now. And of course, Walker. And why not Walker, Mahrez and Foden certainly in contention then, fresh for the Villa game, which, nothing wrong with that, nothing wrong with keeping them on the toes. I think Forest will be reasonably positive. They don't know. Hooper doesn't know how else to play. They're trying to defend. Of course, they'll try and defend, but they'll also try and sneak one or two. They're not great in front of goal at the moment. Fingers crossed, they might suddenly turn into prime Maradonas and who knows, Messi's against us. But yeah, I think we should be too good for this lot. And I'm going to go for a 3-0-ish, a 3-goal margin. Debatable. I mean, I don't expect Forest to score a goal. I hope they don't score a goal. But, I'm sure it's just, again, another proverbial free hit this early in the season. They're not panicking yet. Say they've got 4 points out of 4 games. They'll want more, of course they will. So I'll go for 3. Let me know what you think anyway, guys. Let me know what you think of your players, what 11 it is. Let me know what you think the scoreline will be, etc. etc. It'd be great to hear from you. And in charge, I said we'd get to the ref, didn't I? Before we go, in charge, we got Paul Tierney as the ref in the middle. 41 years old. I thought he was a bit older than that. He's officiated just 3 games so far this season, but it's early days, sort of almost 1 a week. And last season, he took charge of 34 matches, showing 119 yellow cards and 5 reds. So this is where I'm saying Forest are going to have to be very careful on the card side. That's almost about 3 3/4 cards a match. So, yeah, Forest, going to say, they've 16 in 4 games for Forest so far. Paul Turner isn't the sort of guy who doesn't want to give the cards out. So that might bode not well for Forest anyway. And the last game he involved City for Tierney was in April when we beat Leeds United 4-0 at Ellen Road. That was a good result, wasn't it? His linos, Neil Davis, Timothy Wood, Stockley Park on VAR. Yeah, we can't get rid of him that easy, can we? We've got Mike Dean at Stockley Park overviewing proceedings, if you like, from Stockley Park. He's 54. He looks probably looks reasonable. He's the VAR guy and making his coffee. We've got Adrian Holmes making his coffee, not Eamon Holmes, although he'd probably be a better bet. In all fairness, that's probably what he's worth. That's about what he's worth, isn't it? Making coffee. And the 4th official, John Brooks, he's the guy who's gonna. I don't think he's gonna need to keep Hooper and Pep apart. I think there's gonna be mutual respect there from them two. That's for sure. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. That's the preview. There will be a proper preview for the Villa game, but then obviously we're a bit short. We're just doing rating shows, and there might be a sort of shorter version of the preview for the next 2 or 3 games, because I'm actually going on my jollies on a weekend after the Villa game. So, but there will still be plenty of stuff to watch. Let me know your teams, guys. Let me know your score predictions. It'd be great to hear from you. And I only ask one thing, apart from City winning all the time. I only ask one thing, please. Till we meet again, stay safe, Blues. Come on, City. Bye for now.